everybody, and welcome back to the Amazon EU Masters. We're coming fresh off an X7 win over Team Phasma. I mean, how do we break this down, Jamada?
Scrim game. Scrim game. That's how we break it down.
Well, we actually have their top laner standing by Jaeger for an interview. So, Jaeger, how are you doing, mate? Awesome.
I don't know about you.
I can't hear him, but
Jaeger? I can't hear Jaeger.
I can't hear a word he's saying. It's fine.
Can't?
Oh, there we are.
Now we
hey,
can. There
now
we
we
go.
got you.
Okay.
How's it
Yeah,
going?
I'm doing great. Maybe I was a little bit too early, like just like the game was for us a little bit, maybe.
I mean, let's be real, guys. You're now 3-0 at the end of week 1. There's obviously one more week to go. How is the team confidence right now as you exit the first week of the Amazon E Masters?
Confidence is great, I would say. I mean, going 3-0, like I don't think most people would have expected it, but we have like official game magic, I would say. Like our scrims don't really go like this, but in the K-Corp game especially, and in the game against Gamer Legion, we tried very hard, and yeah, in the last game not so much, but yeah, well, we didn't need to, so it was just a game where we can have a little bit more fun. But next week we're gonna try hard again and hopefully go 6-0.
Yeah, no, definitely happy to hear, and I think fun is definitely one way to paint that game against Phantasma. But I want to ask you about that kind of side that we do get out of you guys, and we've definitely had it out of you guys as well domestically sometimes, where it feels like, for lack of a better way of putting it, you get a little bit carried away with yourselves. You have a little bit too much fun. Sometimes it can come back to bite you. Is this something that you guys are fully aware of, and you're, definitely making a bit of a, not necessarily amends, but you make sure you keep that in check, especially as you progress further into the tournament and you start to, you go towards quarters, you get much harder matchups, and obviously the best of 5 starts kicking.
Yeah, I would say it's not really like mistakes just happen. It's just how the game is. Like once in a while, everyone will make a mistake. Literally everyone. So the best team in the world will fuck up once in a while, and so do we. We just keep awareness of just our win condition and how we can win the game afterwards. The game sometimes goes a bit messy, but this is just the nature of League of Legends, I would say. If you play aggressive and you try to like threaten your opponents everywhere you go, then like mistakes will happen. You will get caught. You will like die at the enemy race randomly at minute 18 or something. Yeah, it just happens.
Well, Jaeger, honestly, you're doing the NLC proud. An absolutely amazing performance from you guys so far. I can't wait to see you next week in your games. Good luck with those, and we'll speak to you soon, all right? See you later.
Thank you. See you guys.
See you.
All right, Jamada, let's break this down a little bit, because, the KC game, I think it's safe to say the KC game was actually probably cleaner than this one.
Yeah, but I mean,
yes.
I think like Jaeger just said, right? In games like these, we feel like we can be afforded to have a little more fun.
Yeah.
And whilst, yes, you can definitely read it as maybe a tad disrespectful, I mean, the result kind of speaks for itself in a way, right? You see, even after what was potentially very close to a disastrous early game, they worked their way through it, whether it was through individual outplay, whether it was through, teamwork in situations like these where, yes, maybe the dive and going so far and so deep was maybe originally overstepped, but they just outplay Team Phantasma in that corridor, and that's just kind of what makes X7 at times. They will just skill check you. If all else fails, they will just skill check you. They will hand check you.
I always feel like, games where you're playing versus, arguably weaker teams, they're not always like skill check teams just to see like, because sometimes people use games like this to judge the strength of a team, like a perceived strength of a team versus another team. So it's like, KC won this fast and they won this confidently, where X7 did that. I think it's actually more the opposite. I actually think it's an opportunity to potentially show some weaknesses. There was a little bit of disrespect from Haru, and, there were a couple of opportunities where you're like, oh, actually, a better team definitely would punish there. That was a little sloppy from them. And, other teams like KC can look at these games and look back at them and go, okay, there are weaknesses here. There are things we can punish, because against KC, X7 looked unbeatable. They just look like one of the strongest teams in the tournament. And I think it's safe to say they are, but they're definitely not, I mean, Jaeger, like you said, hit on it. it's not like they are completely, immortal. They're not, you have to make some mistakes. The nature of the game does lead into that. Anyway, let's turn our attention now towards our next game, which is going to be Team Esker taking on Bifrost. So this is the Ultraliga second seed versus the NLC second seed. Bifrost, there's been a few question marks about them going into this tournament, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, definitely so. I think a couple of up and downs also for Team Esker as well. I feel like you could probably say the same thing. Quite a few positives across the board, quite a few negatives, right? I think one of the biggest positive things looking at Esker right now is Zona in some of these early games, right? He has been able to use his agency to quite high effectiveness and has put his team in positions where they can definitely, pick up wins. I think Team Esker maybe, if you look at their game so far, could maybe be walking into this matchup to 2-0. I don't think it's like a too much of an out there statement, but for now, walking into this one 1-on-1 like the rest of the group and Bifrost as well. I think, like you say, loads of ups and downs, and I think our expectations as NLC representatives ourselves have been maybe a little bit tempered, but definitely Bifrost putting in pretty strong performances, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one who had the most question marks for Bifrost was Seaboy in the jungle.
Yeah.
They had they had moments domestically, and people coming into this tournament went, okay. And actually, sorry, just in the play-ins as well, is where Seaboy may have looked a little lost, didn't look like they knew exactly what to do. But then you think back to 2 days ago and their victory versus, I can't remember who they played versus now, and I'm having a complete brain fart on that, BDS.
Yeah, I was going to let you sink on that one.
No, the versus BDS, Seaboy, looked incredible. Honestly, really proactive on the map and set the team up for success. And that was their one victory they've had so far. So I think if Seaboy can kind of replicate that again, that is the big one to watch. But then you look on the side of Team Esker's jungler, Zona. Sorry.
I think I'm pretty sure the broadcaster would pronounce it as Zona. I've done my research and it gets pronounced kind of close to that. We're English. We butcher names all the time. It's kind of it's in our MO, I'm afraid.
But Zona, anyway, has been, the player to watch, I think, on the side of Team Esker. So if Zona can shut Seaboy down, I think that's a path to victory here for the Ultraliga second seed.
Yeah, no, I think the jungle matchup in general is this one probably to watch the most here. I think, like you said, Seaboy has looked both bumpy, but then also in recency also looked kind of strong at the same time. When he's on form, it seems like Seaboy is borderline unstoppable, but then we get those kind of games like what we saw domestically in playoffs where he kind of just runs it. Like there was no variance, but he kind of just runs it out sometimes. Yeah, and it can be at the detriment of Bifrost, unfortunately. But I think what's great about Bifrost then is you get, you can still lean on people like Odie and Jewel in the bottom lane who very commonly just kind of win out 2v2s by themselves. You can also lean on Fury if you give him those kind of champions where let him get to 2 items, 3 items. He's a fantastic mage player. And then of course, you look at the other side though, and I think Esker still top to bottom, loads of players that you can rely on in those roles to try and contest Bifrost, in my opinion.
Well, we have a slight delay before we get into the game, so let's have a quick reminder of where the standings are right now, especially in Group C, as this is the one we are currently playing in. Group C is a very interesting group for me. Everyone is tied up. A lot of people obviously have the expectations of Fnatic. We're going to be the best team in the group, and then it was a little bit up in the air. There's, 4 very strong regions all in this group, and when I saw the group draws, I went, oh, Bifrost, that is probably one of the worst groups you could have pulled. But they're pulling their weight right now, and there is still room. There is still the ability for these teams to get away. I'm going to ask you a bit of a scary question here, Jamada. Who do you think's getting out of Group C?
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to give you 2 answers. My head definitely does say Fnatic Kesso and BDS Academy. My heart wants to say Fnatic Kesso and Bifrost. I'm just, that's it. I think it's one or the other. I'm not particularly sold on Esker thus far, and I feel like, as a region, the Ultraliga, I'm still very tapered in my expectations for them still. I think Go Rogue definitely look a little bit stronger, and I think that's definitely played a lot off of their domestic split. I think for Esker, still maybe a little bit left to be desired. We'll see, but I think it's either gonna be Bifrost Fnatic BDSA. But honestly, in groups, anything can happen. We can always get upsets, and especially like you said, it's such a tight group. I feel like not just by standings, but also just kind of by reputation, that almost anything could happen. I think the only big shock to me in that group that could happen, but I don't really think would be that maybe Fnatic miss out on groups. But I really do doubt that would be one of the outcomes that we get from Group C. Yes, it would.
That would be a major upset. Going into this game, I still have some question marks. Bifrost have a similar playstyle to the way a Go Rogue do, where they're quite willing to let it go into late game. I think the big difference between a Go Rogue and Bifrost is Bifrost definitely struggled more in the mid game. They're not as capable at stemming the bleeding, and I think if they lean on that, that could be a problem versus the Ultra Liga teams. And I think this group is a lot of very aggressive teams, so that's my main concern for the side of Bifrost right now.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely agree. I think when it comes to Bifrost, they definitely did have a tendency to kind of just sit on their hands, not really do too much. I think, though, when we look at like series domestically in playoffs, like when they played against Dusty, very capable of playing early game series out, but it's more about whether or not they feel like it's the correct thing to do, or whether maybe it's in the mindset, right? How they approach any individual game, any individual series, an opponent, whether or not they feel like it's the correct thing to do. Because obviously playing to scale, in theory, is the safer thing to do, but it does mean you leave yourself open against aggressive teams like Fnatic, Kesso, or like BDSA on occasion, where you can very easily fall 2, 3, 4,000 gold behind.
Yeah, absolutely. On the other side there, let's talk a little bit about these bot lanes, because when I was looking at these games, obviously on the side of Bifrost, Odie and Duel, a pair that do get bigged up a lot, but you also talking to me that like Harpoon is actually a player to watch on the side of Team Esker. What are our kind of like thoughts and predictions going into this game towards the bot side of the map?
Oh, I mean, I think no matter how you put it, I'm hoping that we see both of these AD carries on a hyper carry. I think that's the style of champion that they both thrive on the most. I would actually say away from the bot lane, as much as I feel like Harpoon is for Esker a player that they're going to lean on, I'm more interested in how the mid lane will go, because I think Morozku actually has a very interesting champion pool. You're talking about trying to play many assassins in the mid lane, and into Fury, somebody who's very capable of playing a very similar playstyle, but it feels like on Bifrost has lent more, this year on playing things like the Veigar, playing things like the Corki, right? All of these sort of slower scaling champions, the Seraphine even, he's pulled out once or twice. It's definitely been a slower season for Fury, and I hope that, whilst he's here at this tournament, his first Amazon European Masters, that he's able to pull out one of those more higher agency champions, maybe perhaps like his Irelia or his Silas.
Yeah. Absolutely. We have had a slight delay, obviously, hence why we're still rambling on and not into Champ Select quite yet. So just give us a bit more time to kind of, prep and talk about it. Luckily, it's a team which is a team that we have covered quite a lot this year. So yes. At least that helps. I'm curious actually about this top lane as well, because Hezira versus Shikari. Shikari to me is he's kind of like he's a bulwark of his team, right? He's someone who's just reliable. He can play weak side, he can play aggressive, and you can just rely on Shikari to be, just to be able to hold out in whatever lane he's in. So I'm curious about how you feel this top lane is going to go, because Hezira is also a player who's had multiple EU Masters appearances so far as well under his belt. Versus, as far as it goes, as far as British top laners go, Shikari is kind of one of the rocks and one of the British top laners we have.
Yeah, no, plain and simple. When you think about UK tops, you think about, at least talking at ERL level, you think about Shikari, and then you also think about Kerberos. Those are like probably the two names that come to your mind first. Yeah. And yeah, like you say, he is stalwart up in the top side. Like, he will do his job to the death if he has to, and that's always what's made Shikari such a fun player to watch, even when he's on these weak side picks where you kind of feel bad for him at points. He always just kind of delivers when it matters most. But I think what's interesting to talk about is kind of maybe a bit of an evolution of Shikari, this split, where he's actually been given access to more carry champions, it feels like. At times, things like the Akali, I think, is something that Bifrost put strange priority on for a player like Shikari, but he was still able to deliver very, very strong performances. And I hope that we do actually maybe get a little more of that side of Shikari. But I think the issue is, when you play, strong top side, it comes at the expense of the bottom side. More often than it's very hard to play top and bottom at the same time. Yeah. So I think when you have Odie on your team, you want to play towards Odie. It's just how Odie as a player is. You want to be able to give him all of the resources to carry, and it's why we do in this iteration of Bifrost see Shikari so commonly on these tanks. But yeah, I hope that we do at least get, 1 or 2 carry performances out of him where Shikari looks super threatening. Yeah,
I also think, like you were saying, Odie and Harpoon both hyper carries as well. So I feel like Azero and Shikari might just get put on frontline duty in these games, and their job will be just to keep them going. I think actually mid jungle is going to be very key going into this game and into this champ select, because mid jungle can then bleed down and affect into that bottom lane. So I'm curious to see where the attention is going to be. Obviously, we think about like C-Boy on Volibear and stuff like that. Fury as well as a player who, if I remember right, actually has a fairly wide champion pool as well. So we're gonna get into champ select soon, I promise. I
promise. It's the classic. Casters, start the game. Right?
We've asked
casters. We're trying. Okay, I promise. We will be moving into champ select as soon as possible. I feel like we're almost out of talking. At what point do we just get to ramble and maybe the producers don't get mad at us?
I feel like we're at that point, my man.
I just hope that we don't get a boring game.
No,
what was you hoping for?
I really don't think this game will be boring. The one game I thought today might be a little bit boring was going to be XM versus Team Phantasma, and that still delivered. I think Team Phantasma still put up an aggressive game, a performance where it made X7 have to kind of reassess stuff a little bit. That was the game I was worried would just be very one-sided stomp, because that's what we've had out of X7. I mean, KC versus X7, like it was very exciting for us as NLC fans to watch. But I'm sure for the average viewer, it was just one team stomping another. But this game definitely, I think there's a lot on the line. Group C has a lot to play for, and finding this win really pulls you ahead of the rest of the group going into the next day, into the next week.
Yeah, no, I think especially when you take into consideration the fact that everybody is 1-on-1, top to bottom in this group. Like you say, moving into week 2 as the 2-on-1 team, or one of the 2 2-on-1 teams, is very, very important. And actually, the reason why we are in this situation is because of the replay that we have on our screen. And one of these fights, the key moment where Eska were able to come back, really, was because Fnatic Kesso were a little bit lost in their mid game in this one. Yeah. As you can see, a bit of a sort of 1-3-1 comp. They want to play on sides. They have Kimil, they have Twisted Fate. And eventually, they just started team fighting. And it was the heroics here of Morozku, Harpoon, and Marlon to keep themselves in the game and deny Fnatic the opportunity to close this game out. As why we're actually in a situation where Group C is so damn tight.
It's done miracles for the lineup, miracles for the group in a way, because it makes this group so exciting for us, the viewers. And yeah, we haven't actually had enough Ari today. I know me and you have had a debate about Ari
in both the games so far, hasn't it?
Exactly, actually. Yeah.
And then I think teams are catching on. It's kind of a broken B1. And I actually think this is going to be another game where Ari is either first picked or banned, because Fury has shown a pretty big tendency onto it. And Morozku, I don't know if it was first pick, but definitely did play it into Fnatic Kesso, as we just confirmed in those replays. So let's see, as we're finally into Champ Select, one of us pushing the button.
We finally got ourselves in. The Veigar, the Vex, and the Akali all banned away. Like you were saying, that Akali is something which Shikari plays, but actually they're banning it away on the other side. Don't want to give that over. The Xayah going to get banned up as well. And so far, Fox Lady has made it through the ban phase. I feel like if anyone's banning it, it's going to be Bifrost, as there's the ban on the Zeri.
Yeah, so Eska, I think, are trying to call Bifrost out on this Ari ban. With the Veigar being banned away, that's what it's setting up for, especially the Vex too. So I expect this to be B1 Ari.
There it is.
The confirmation there for Morozku. And Bifrost, if you're wondering why Akali and Yone have met the ban table, it's because Morozku is a very scary player on those champions. Even to my knowledge or memory, I'm pretty sure I've seen Azero play it time ago. Shikari will lock in the Volibear for who you expect to be for C-Boy, and C-Boy is giving us our shout out to Arco with the Pantheon hover. But we'll swap back over to that Jinx for Odie. 2 picks that we're very synonymous with both these players for Bifrost this split.
Absolutely, and these are rattling through on the side of Eska, as they are going to pick up the Jarvan and potentially just a Enchanter support. They don't want to give over the Jinx Lulu there. Running through a few different options here. See what they decide to go for. I'm just thinking about what kind of hyper carries are left open. You obviously got that Aphelios up and available as well. And you're also curious to see what Bifrost's answer is to the Ahri, as the Aatrox is going to get locked in. We could see something like the LeBlanc for Fury here in the mid lane if they just want to pick something that can kind of, you know, attempt to match the Ahri. But Bifrost, don't expect to see the Pantheon. I like Jamada was saying. It's a nod towards Archer.
It's just a nod towards Archer. If you ever wonder why Bifrost do it so frequently, everybody loves our host over everything else. Myself included. We will get to see this Sylas come out from Fury. And this is what I was talking about. I love seeing Fury lock in these champions with a little more self-agency for himself. And Sylas, one of the few picks that we've seen sort of more, you know, confidently be taken into the Ahri, with the exception, of course, of the Veigar, which was banned away here. And funnily enough, Morozku played this, I believe, on day one into an Ahri, though it's escaping me who it was into in the group. But Lucian taken away off of the table, and we will probably see a couple more support bans. Safety net of Thresh. We could even maybe see something like the Rakan banned away from either side, though I feel like for Bifrost, knowing that Aatrox is up in the top side, they will just go for something for Shikari and just hold on to that support counter pick. There's no reason really to take Jules champion unless you really want priority on something. And I think for Team Eska, actually the more dive they have the better, so maybe they should keep that one up and move away something like, yeah, like that Nart. And they will look probably towards that Rakan pick themselves. As for Shikari, plenty of options still there. I think you could look at something maybe like the Gangplank. A lot of these champions right now for Eska do come into Gangplank, has a pretty fine time into it. And I expect, again, you know, Bifrost, they should play towards the bottom side out of tendency. But, oh, Poppy is so high value here.
That is a...
I would love this lock-in.
It is locked in.
Steadfast Presence so far is going to stop every single champion that Eska has from pressing one of their keys. So I love that from Shikari. It's going to be able to be a pretty stone wall defense up in the top side. It's going to be hard to punish that in the 2v1 and just individually in the 1v1 as well.
It's interesting as well because we're kind of hitting on like the rock solid top laners from the UK. Most UK top laners have Poppy as like a playable champion just in their back pocket. I can't think of one who can't play this champ. So nice little pick up there. They're going to pick the Kai'Sa for Harpoon. Another, you know, an ultimate that can get shut down by that Steadfast Presence as well. And now we're going to see what they're going to look to pair it up with in the bot lane. Could just be like, a Naught.
Thematically here, like you either go Nautilus or you go like Rakan. That just makes the most sense, right? With this composition right now, because it's just all it. It is just, it is what it is. It's a very, very aggressive comp. And you want to shut somebody down. And it looks like the Nautilus will be the answer. And now I wonder what Bifrost will do. I mean, my brain's telling me Braum here for Jewel. I think you end up winning out the 2v2. Braum is particularly good into Jarvan as well because, oh yeah, also Renata exists. So why would you not actually? I'll take everything I just said back because we are in 2022, not 2015. So I expect Renata will be locked in instead. Of course, very strong into these dive comps. And Eska, with what they're running right now, I mean, let's be real, they want to try and get on top of Odie and try and take him down. And that Berserk ultimate is just going to halt everything in its place and stop these guys from kind of working as a bit of a death ball.
This is a very interesting draft on both sides. You can see there's a very clear condition for both of these teams to play around. On the side of Team Eska, they just want to go forward. Bifrost, though, have enabled themselves and given themselves tools to be able to shut that down. I actually really like the Sylas. I pretty much, you know, there's 4 really good ultimates for him to steal. I guess the Kai'Sa ultimate exists as well, but realistically, there's 4 really good ultimates for him to steal. But the Renata just being able to stop everybody who jumps forward, and the Poppy also shutting that down as well. If Odie isn't punished early, I worry for the side of Team Eska, because I think if Odie just gets a free laning phase, and then we get into the point where they start grouping up, and you try and jumping onto the Jinx who's been free farming all game, and then there's the Renata to shut it down, there's the Poppy to kind of disengage for them as well, it's going to get real hairy.
See, I think for Eska, like you say, it's going to be about target access towards Odie and trying to take him down. He is going to be the late game focus, and I expect also Bifrost to just play into that lane. From the get-go, just put resources into Odie's back pocket and try and get him super fed. But Bifrost's composition is drafted wonderfully to deal with all of the dive that is there and available for Eska. Every single champion can be Steadfast Presence. So when you get into that sort of 20, like post 20-minute mark where you start to see kind of like a 1-3-1, 1-4, people start to like group around objectives and only really side lane. I just want to see Shikari play bodyguard for Odie, and that's all you really have to do. And then Odie can definitely take over these team fights. But if Eska are able to assassinate Odie, I do fret for the damage profile of Bifrost. It's basically just going to be Fury working off his build and then Seaboy on bases.
30 seconds until minions.
Hopefully that will be enough for the Bifrost side as we are here into the third game of the day. It's Team Eska versus Bifrost.
Seeing the first strike job in this time as well from Zona. But I do like to see Seaboy back on the volley bear. He was very, very powerful on this pick in their game versus BDS earlier on in the week. It really enabled the team, was very proactive, and that's kind of what they need to do. But for now, looks like Zona actually just looking to place this vision down into Seaboy's jungle.
Just wants some information on where Seaboy will be starting, and looks like Seaboy is actually going to do something kind of cheeky there. He's going to walk back through the Raptors and make it look as if he's actually starting on the bottom side. And just go straight back to his red buff. So could give a false sense of security to the bottom side of Team Eska. We'll see whether or not they try and play for any kind of early priority. It will definitely be very difficult considering they're playing into Jinx Renata. But could be, again, in the mentality. What do they want to do? And actually, Zona, he's going straight down to the bottom side immediately to try and level 2 gank this, potentially.
He's looking for it. Like we're saying, if you can shut Odie down early, that is big as they're flashing over. Jewel's been caught. Jewel has to flash away. Ooh. Has himself everything available, able to dodge away. That was so close to going bad for Bifrost.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you can call that a success because of the immobility of these champions. The fact that you're able to survive that gank, that's huge, if you ask me. And it does mean that Renata now flashless is definitely a much easier target to lock down. If they return that gank back down there, they will certainly pick up Jewel. I think in most cases, Seaboy just going for the full clear down towards the bottom side. Now that he knows where Zona is, he can basically do whatever he likes. With the exception of maybe go for an invade as Fury. Definitely taking a bit of a beating in the mid lane. As you'd expect, range versus melee, the first couple of levels will be a little bit rough. Of course, Sylas will scale into this game pretty decently. 3 melees, short range AD carry. Ari even, you know, even though she may want to play at range in some games, in a game like this, she's definitely trying to get up in your face, get some charms down, and set up for the rest of her team. Should have an okay time as things progress.
Yeah, very much a rougher laning phase for Fury, but obviously, like we're saying, the value of the Sylas is the ability to take away these ultimates and, you know, turn them on to the side of Team Eska. As Seaboy, like you're saying, doing a full clear just downwards as Zona hasn't actually done his Krug, so he's a little bit behind on the old farming, but obviously did try to make some action happen in the bottom side of the map and set up his bot lane for success. And we'll see if they can punish Jewel. His flash is still got 2/3 of its cooldown back, up available, sorry. And Seaboy just seeing if he can find anything, any camps to sneak away, steal away from his counterpart. Doesn't go in the right direction, so it's just going to go for a recall.
We'll just go for a recall indeed. This wave is crashing back down here. I wonder if they want to turn this into a dive or whether they just want to safely guide this underneath the tower. Just simply because Zona, in a game like this, if you see a Jarvan level 2 gank in the nature that we did see, I think from a jungler's mentality, you just want to cover that wave crash just in case he comes back again. And Zona definitely had the time. If he skipped his wolf camp, just walked down, definitely would have been here on that timer, but Seaboy would have been there to cover. So good job from the Bifrost jungler. And nothing actually ends up happening.
That Void Seeker was nice actually there. Stopped Odie from getting that cheetah recall off and kind of getting a slight advantage in the lane. Has to stay now and push even more waves. And now you can see Zona actually making his way towards the bottom side of the map. That's a very nice ward placed down by Seaboy on his way out though. So they will see Zona here. And that means that Bifrost will just play a little bit more respectfully down on this bottom side. Harpoon will block the cannon minion with his own body.
Not wants to give over the cannon minion, but I think he will make it. And I want to say they're going to try and crash not on this wave, but the wave after, unless they just get a hook and look for a bit of a trade.
Yeah, they do go for a light trade onto Joa. They throw the ignite down, and he's heavily chunked, but won't be dying yet. We'll be able to just about survive this. And Zona, they know he's in the lane. They see him out on the wards, and So let's be a little careful. There is still a heal available. They land another hook. The heal comes out. He gets the bear out. They're trying to keep him alive long enough, but he can't do so. Odie answers out with his own kill, and now he's excited onto Harpoon. Harpoon's in the middle of the minion wave, and that is a lot of damage coming out. So 1-for-1 in the bot lane, but Marlon, honestly, beautiful hooks coming out.
Yeah, I mean, heat seeking, honestly, and Odie, great bit of discipline there not to overchase onto Harpoon. Harpoon still had both his summoners, and not only that, saw Zona, of course, moments ago was just in the top side. I got a little bit scared by that left side of the screen, but I was just Java clearing the Raptors through the Demacian standard. From the sky, Jewel opens out back onto the mid lane. Could actually help. Ooh, Rosku. Yeah. Force the armor out. Not too shabby.
That is big. As we have a look at this bot lane action again, Jewel just takes 2 hooks too many.
Yeah, and I mean, Jewel not quite behind the minion wave there. And they almost do bail him out. I mean, an extra second and a half. Marlon would have maybe had it. And, could have been bailed out. Unfortunately, Jewel not able to get that. And once Zona comes back over the wall with the blast cone, Odie knows to just let the kill go.
I see. Now, with the ultimate down on Moscow, C-Boy was thinking about making an appearance, but decides to cool it off and is now actually looking to potentially steal away this red buff on spawn from Zona. Has spawned up, and he's going to be able to start that camp up for himself. Fury got pressure in the mid, so he can make sure that this is going to be a freebie for his jungle.
Yeah, great little bit of use of priority here from C-Boy. Just take away some of the jungle camps whilst you can. Smite that one up. Must be approaching level 6 as well. 52 camps, or 52 CS, which equates to 13 camps. Took me a second to do the maths.
It's impressive you can do that, maths.
Is it?
No, but
yeah,
for me it is. For the
you,
average person, probably not. No, but for me it is.
Yeah, so I definitely want to see Fury and C-Boy team up though sooner rather than later. I think this is maybe the part in the lane where, you know, the wave clear kind of gets a little bit neutralized. Both these mid laners, whilst obviously Morosku should have first move. I feel like Fury can maybe give up his health bar to have first move as well. But now, actually, if we meet this 3v3 down here, Zona has ultimate. C-Boy does not. Maybe if one of these creeps die in the exchange, but C-Boy just here to cover. And we'll just back away. Like I was saying, I really need to see, I think, level 6 be hit. And there it is. A couple of creeps away C-Boy was. And just try and abuse this 2v2, the early skirmishing power of Silas Volibear. There's not really many 2v2 duos in the game at the moment. I feel like that can out-skirmish that.
Yeah, that's a very nasty little combo they got there. Looks like the pings are going back down towards the bot lane now that C-Boy has the ultimate available. Oscar needs to be careful because that pink ward might be a little bit of a bait. It's going to call it off for the moment though. And top lane, understandably, been fairly quiet from Shikari and his Zero. You did expect this. Poppy is a neutralizer as it is, and then into something like an Aatrox, just completely stopping him from being able to trade as his Q just gets stopped by the Steadfast Presence.
Yeah, and of course, I think the more important thing to track with Shikari is that was a lot of damage from that passive Broken Grasp, is actually how much value the Steadfast Presence gets into the composition of Eska in that sort of mid to late stage of the game, because of course Odie will be the target that will be looked at here by Eska, because of course you shut down that Jinx, you pick her up early in a team fight, and then all of a sudden the damage profile of Bifrost drops drastically.
Yeah.
This is the kind of game where, honestly, Odie's set up, I think realistically, to see something really high, like 40% of the damage of Bifrost at the end of the game, if he can be afforded the pill and the space to deal damage. I'm curious to see, no team's actually tried to go for a Herald here. I think top lane has just been kind of back and forth, mid lane as well, same thing. Priority has been kind of mixed, but Zona hasn't gone towards it. Wall to be dropped, so information on both ends, and both these junglers more willing to kind of farm it out for now. But with Zona pathing that down towards the bottom side, I would say expect a potential gank. The issue is back for a spot lane, they're looking for a reset, so I think we're just here for a bit of a stalemate.
I think you are right. 10 minutes on the clock. Gold lead is pretty even between the two teams. Shikari actually doesn't block anything with the Steadfast Presence. Didn't interact quite how I remember that working. Zero might be in a little bit of trouble here. Does have the flash and his ultimate available. It's a large wave crashing in, though. Shikari's waiting for the opportunity, and Seaboy's going to jump in forwards, stun him up, lock him down. Ultimate is thrown out, but they can turn these towers off if they need. The sustain for his Zero is absolutely huge. He's getting dunked. He's getting bopped. And Shikari finds the kill.
Yeah, Shikari gets the kill. Pretty easy gang setup. They do miss Shikari a fair amount of that wave, but I think you're going to be happy with that kill. If you can maybe turn it into Herald, it's good, but I think the issue is because you committed 2 ultimates to that, it's maybe something that's a little bit risky. Morosku actually also in the mid lane, by the way, committed ultimate and ignite in an attempt to try and take down Fury, and I imagine Fury stole away the Spirit Rush to make a escape, and it should now be the Herald of Team Eska, unless Bifrost has something to say about this rotation from Jewel.
They've rotated Odie as well.
Yeah, Odie's also here, so I think they actually want to play for Herald. Maybe it seems like they're a bit in 2 minds about it. Jewel wanted to go back down towards the Dragon. This Herald is about to be in execution range. They'll see it as it falls.
Yeah, they kind of jump in. Fury's trying to steal it away. The smite's going to be enough as the rocket comes in a little bit too late. There's the Cataclysm, but Odie's untouched for the moment. Dodges out on the charm. A massive hostile takeover, but it's not enough. Zona's able to get away. Seaboy gets a slight shield off for the moment, but that is all they can achieve for that. Bifrost just a little bit too slow to the punch, and Odie's actually going to suffer for that. Has to kind of go to the top side to scrap together whatever waves he lost.
Yeah, I mean, on the bottom side now, it's actually going to be Shikari picking up this massive wave. Fury getting a trade in the mid lane. Not going to quite go his way this time around. No ignite from Morosku though, so threat of a solo kill, I think just a little bit too low for now. And Harpoon, I think actually picked up 2 plates. Ultimate not available here, so forever dive a little bit low from Seaboy, and it's just a bit of a pass through. Now Dragon's available on the bottom side, which you imagine, having just seen Seaboy show face, will be the focus here of Zona. But first wants to get this Herald down for his AD carry, and then should just turn his attention to the Dragon. I think this will be delivered quite safely. Harpoon just has to stay here to get the plates.
This is quite rough for them, as actually they find everything onto Odie. He has no flash. The hostile takeover. Can they survive in time? No! His Zero now got the reset and chasing on with that World Ender. Joel's running away. Should just be able to make his way out. But that was a absolutely superb combo from the support top lane.
Yeah, I just don't know what Odie was thinking being so far up. Gets into a position where he can actually be clipped by the chains there of Aatrox, and then just double pulled back once, then the dredge line comes out, and the setup is as easy as you like. You can see how much damage that Aatrox is capable of doing, and again, this is going to be the story of the game. How much access do they have onto Odie? And actually, because of all of this sequence of play, Harpoon is 2 levels up. All right, only a level now, level and a half up on the Jinx, and I would like to ask, what is the gold standing right now? Because that's a Kraken Slayer and a Dirk in the back pocket of Harpoon, and it's 1,500 between the AD carries.
This
That's
is a
just
problem.
good resource management there from Team Eska.
It was a very greedy rotation from Bifrost to rotate everybody over when it was quite late to actually attempt to go for that Rift Herald steal, and it cost them heavily. A lot of gold because Harpoon got free time in the lane and was able to get all the plates and that tower down. And now the rotation's coming forward, and Harpoon's just completely staying away from his lane opponent, and Odie, forced into this lane versus the Aatrox, is able to do a fair amount of damage as the traps are going to connect in, and now they're chasing for the fight on to the Nautilus. Odie is gifted the kill, and the plates to follow as well. So a little bit of injection of cash into their bot laner. The tower is going to go low as the plates fall out, and Seaboy might just be feeling a little bit more here. They might chase as Joel flashes for the handshake. They get the zap off. They don't have the rockets, and the hostile takeover will connect onto Hezero to turn him around. A free-man knock-up into a free-man Cataclysm, but here comes the Fox. Mizuko able to get a lot more damage off, but Odie able to survive. The Ignite is ticking. He will fall down just as much of a wave as possible. Oh, that was so tragic. As now they're chasing the Hex Flash is coming in, the Charm's going to go wide, needs to find himself the handshake to send them packing, able to dodge away, but there is a Kai'Sa sliding in to save the day. Fury, can he bail out his support? Seaboy's trying to do so, but the Charm will land. Mizuko able to find yet another kill.
Indeed. Such great follow-up on that Cataclysm, and it's Bifrost going a little bit too deep on that dive. They'd achieved what they wanted, or could have, in that tower originally. They just go a little bit too far forward. See, Marlon just gets a little bit caught out by the Bifrost rotation. C-Boy face checks here into Zona, and at this point, you know, they've got the tower. They don't really have to go for this, you know. They've achieved their objective already. Now Olmert comes out, brings Zero back in, and they do pick him up, but the issue is this Cataclysm into Flash Spirit Rush Everfrost to lock up all 3 members. And the Ignite dropped on Odie. It means that he does fall below lethal. Bailout only allows him to pick up a couple more creeps. And then Morozku, unfortunately, does miss out on the initial charm and gets hand shook backwards, but is able to chase him down and eventually pick him up to secure the final kill of the play.
The really sad thing there for Odie is if he got Bailout like half a second earlier, he would have got the kill on onto Zona and lived. Just didn't expect
cookie crumbles. The way the cookie crumbles, but for now, I think state of the game, not too bad. I think for either side, both these guys, okay, both teams, I think, all right. Bifrost, just happy to not be too far behind. I think that gold injection, that play in the bottom side, kind of saved a little bit of the gold difference between the AD carries, just off the fact that Kraken Slayer's there. Now there's 2 long swords into
Zona!
team fight.
He got interrupted. He's just dead.
Yeah. Great stuff from
able
Jewel.
to get it. Shikari's coming in, goes for the wall bang onto the Nautilus. Eats a whole lot of damage as he can't get the steadfast off in time. Is just about able to escape.
Right. Little cheeky from Shikari. Definitely could have ended up dropping there. He's able to flash out in time. But yeah, like you say, great interrupt there by Jewel on the flag and drag.
Jewel, he's in trouble, has the hostile takeover. That might just be enough to save his life. Harpoon taking a lot of damage from Odie in the meanwhile as he eats the zap, has to flash away. Fury has flash. Not gonna feel it.
Yeah, this is the thing. Odie has that one item now. Indeed. Spirit Rush over the wall.
Flash available from Odie. Everfrost gets dodged away. Everfrost comes in response. C-Boy's making his way over. And it looks like Esko are just going to get sent packing as Bifrost quite happy to take what they just got.
Oh, Odie was so lucky there because he killed the tower, actually got excited. I think that movement speed got him out of range of the Everfrost and Morozku. Otherwise, he'd been locked down, and maybe the follow-up actually does come through from Esko as Shikari's back up here in the top side to match. Zero, despite that turn earlier on in the game, finds himself 0-2-1. I think he's still quite strong at the moment, but not going to be able to flex his muscles just yet unless a greater skirmish breaks out for this Herald, which definitely could be the case. I think Bifrost, lack of ultimate economy right now could mean they stay away from this one, but it looks like they just want to posture to ensure that the Herald doesn't go over free.
Odie has got the Lost Whisper off the back of that base as well, so now slightly catching up to his counterpart, although Harpoon still 200 gold shutdown, still got a pretty significant lead over his counterpart. Also level 11, so upgrade that ult a little bit as Fury. Doesn't really have any engage ult, so is just going to have to kind of relax for the moment. C-Boy though.
Oh, C-Boy
might just get hooked here. Does have the ultimate to get away. Can't even use it in time. Shut down for the Polish second seed.
That's just really greedy from C-Boy. It looks like he wanted to go mid of the Herald, maybe. That's why he pathed like that. Drop it down from the tower, which he wasn't expecting the Hex Flash immediately over the wall. And now, because of that pick, you'd expect Bifrost give up on contesting this dragon. And they actually had the tempo to do it as well. Given how that play started, with Esko actually starting up the Herald and maybe looking like they'd be the ones to pick it up. They will now get themselves the second dragon. Ocean Dragon, by the way. We haven't spoken about the soul on offer for our third game of the day. A lot of value, I think, on both sides because there's so many bruisers.
It feels like the game, every time it feels like it's slowing down, just there's a little burst of action. Kick it off. Shikari trying to take this turret down. That would be a nice injection of cash for his team, but is going to have to wait for the moment. As Harpoon has now finished up the Phantom Dancer, obviously got that Dirk as well. So building towards, which I assume will be a collector.
You can, if you really don't want it as well, just sell it and go for another item. I think the Dirk helps you get to that early evolution on the queue, but like you say, collector, always fine to pick up. I just feel into the front line of what Bifrost have, it's not going to be the most effective, but if you are primarily dashing onto Odie or attacking Jewel as well, it's going to work out fine. And actually, speaking of itemization, I think Jewel doing the right thing, going for that Lord Dom second. Kraken Slayer, I think maybe a little bit ambitious, given the enemy composition having so much dive and backline threat, but if afforded the space, the Crankslayer is definitely going to help deal with just that extra little bit of damage.
Alrighty, well, 20 minutes on the clock. The gold lead is 500. It is a very small gold lead, although I would like to see where that gold lead is, if we can. The Rift Herald's going to get summoned and should just be tier 2 fooling here. Although there's a good Cataclysm angle from Zona. Yeah. Shikari is waiting in the wings, though, with the Steadfast presence. And the tower will go down. Bifrost get what they want, and they walk away quite happy.
Indeed, top side, that wave being away at the tower, and I think will finally be picked up by Morozku there. That'll just be a bit of a trade across the map. Ari will get another injection of gold. We'll feel quite happy about that one. Working towards the second item, death cap. 3-0-0 Morozku. Having a pretty good game for himself.
Absolutely. Just a quick reminder of the stakes as well for this game is, you know, both of these teams 1-1 right now in the standings. Everybody in Group C 1-1.
Yeah.
So a win here is very, very important going into the second week of the group stage. So both teams playing with a lot of respect towards each other, because honestly, winning this game could be the difference maker between making it out of groups or not.
No, absolutely it can be, especially when you think about head-to-heads, how often head-to-heads are so important in getting you out of a group. For Bifrost, if they can walk into the second round robin saying, okay, we only have the negative head-to-head against Fnatic Kesso, I'd be pretty happy about that.
I don't think there's been any Masters without at least one group having tiebreakers. I could be wrong there, but
that's
pretty
something
sure.
you would have to ask a fact checker, because
yes.
I do not know. And actually, speaking of the head-to-heads, you have to remember, Team Eska have the head-to-head on Fnatic Kesso because they took them down in their game. So going 2-1 is actually a very, very big deal here. More so you'd feel actually for the Ultra Liga representatives, considering Fnatic Kesso are definitely hailed as the favorites of Group C, even in what is a very close group standing. I think now Bifrost, looking at this game from their point of view, 2 items pretty much in across the board. They're actually in a very, very okay position to fight. I think for Team Eska right now, they need to try and find OD on a bit of a cheeky angle, maybe blow his flash and then not commit any further to the fight unless it is super free to just pick him up, because you have to remember, again, I was just speaking about the itemization, no Gale Force, went for the Kraken Slayer.
Yeah.
So you only really have to deal with 1 dash, not 2. And we'll see whether or not that comes back to buy OD, because again, I feel like Gale Force, in a game like this, we have so much dive and no real, you know, other options of peel, right? You have the Steadfast presence from Shikari, and that's about it. Obviously, you have things like the Renata ultimate. Jewel should be kind of, you know, OD's third arm in a way, sticking to him consistently. So OD will eat a little bit of damage, not too much, and now they have position over this dragon. It'd only be the second if Bifrost were to pick it up, but it would put Team Eska at sole point, and actually they read how little control they have on the bottom side, and they're just gonna maybe eye up at the very least the Baron start. Just a bit of a hover as they try and pull Bifrost back and forth. The next fight here is going to be so influential on who actually ends up coming out ahead for the next 5, 6, 7 minutes or so.
Unless both teams are posturing for that fight. OD just trying to inject as much gold as possible. I think once that Infinity Edge comes in, that's when Eska really start to panic, and they're on a ward here. They know they're just doing it. You can see that they've been spotted out, and Marlon trying to play that interruption duty. Mosquito's also moved over, and Dragon has been stopped. There's the hammer to go down to slam everybody out. Seaboy jumps away, able to shield up and survive, but that is the ultimate burnt by him for now. Odie needs to be careful as they continue in the chase. Great Steadfast presence once again, just to stop, just to dissuade. Jewel looking for a great hostile takeover, waiting for the opportunity. Odie's free-firing off. Look at that ultimate! It is the hostile takeover to take over the game. Odie is excited. Odie finds the triple kill. Looking for the Quadra. He should get it. A Quadra kill for Odie.
And Odie takes over the fight off the back of Jules. Insane! As he gets taken down off the side. Hostile takeover. And this is what he was talking about. Yes, you're going to be looking at Odie for these dive targets, but if you don't find him initially and you don't burst him down and he's allowed to free auto attack like that, you get team fights where Jinx goes crazy. A quadra kill for the Bifrost AD carry. Very easily could have been a pentakill if Harpoon didn't get out of dodge sooner. And now that's Baron on the back pocket of Bifrost. They're going to pick up this dragon, so that's now soul point avoided. Let's get a replay of this team fight. And again, you can see Marlon, he wants that ultimate actually onto the back line. He finds Jewel instead. The dive comes through, but the issue is they don't burst Jewel down 100-0. The hostile takeover comes in. So much damage is just kind of, you know, negated onto Bifrost because they're all busy all attacking each other, and Odie gets free reign to rocket on to the entirety of the side of Eska. Quadra kill picked up. Harpoon a little bit too far away, and Jewel somehow did get picked off on the side. I'm not too sure how, but still, Bifrost clean that fight.
Yes, they do. And now Odie has the Infinity Edge, has the stopwatch, flash down, so there is a room to punish. And they're actually do finding a cheeky hook onto C-Boy. The Zero's coming in the wings as well. But here comes Odie once again, dodging out on the chance. He's going to look for one. He's going to find it. Shikari to cash in. He's excited though. Fury chasing forwards. Can he find that opportunity to find the abscond and abduct? Just steals away the World Eater. World Ender? World Ender. There we are.
Ender.
Yeah.
I think you're thinking about Cho'Gath there, friend.
The tower will crumble, and 27 minutes on the clock, and Odie is in the base. Look at the damage coming out from that Jinx. He is doing an absolutely terrifying amount of work. The first tower guarding this Nexus is going to get fired up, and it will fall down. Odie excited, stepping forward, zoning Harpoon off. Marlon needs to find the hook of the Sentry. There's a Zero chasing in forwards. There's the hook onto Shikari. Gonna go low already. Odie gets his first kill. Mizoku now zoned out of the fight for the moment, and Odie is still untouched, still firing away for free. Stopwatch gonna get used. Another kill should get picked up. It's a double. It's a triple. No! Shikari takes it away, but Harpoon will be next up. There's the next kill. Zero trying to sustain, trying to keep himself alive in this game for as long as possible, but C-Boy will take him down. 28 minutes on the clock, and another multi-kill over to Odie. And Bifrost go 2-1 in Group C.
Bifrost will temporarily hold sole possession of first place until the final game of the day, where somebody will tie with them. Very, very strong performance coming out from them at the end of the day. And I think for Eska, it's just a very tough draft to pilot, in my opinion. I think not necessarily because the draft was, you know, poor, but I think the responses that came out from Bifrost just made perfect sense, right? The Poppy on R4, the Renata as well on R5, it just made diving so difficult. And when the lead wasn't really expanded upon at all, the very small lead that Eska really did have, it just felt like this game was going to scale in Bifrost's favor, and time was just against the Polish side.
It really was. Well, we actually have the mid laner, Fury, standing by for an interview. So, Fury, are you here? How are you doing?
I'm here. We are back.
You're back. I mean, that was a phenomenal game from you guys coming out. Obviously, going into today, knowing that this was the last game of the first side of the round robin, everyone in your group is tied up. How did that kind of play towards maybe like nerves and preparation going into this game?
For me personally, I didn't really have like a lot of nerves coming into AO Masters. Like in our group, everyone expects Fnatic and BDS to come out. So it's a nice underdog position, and after Friday, the group kinda went to like everything can happen now after what happened Friday. So if we just keep playing good, I think we can get actually out of group. So yeah, we will see what happens.
Yeah, no, I think, like you say, everything looks kind of up in the air still for your group. But I want to sort of take a step back with you and ask, because, you know, you've been short of EU Masters so many times. How does it feel to finally be at this tournament and playing with Bifrost? And, you know, how your thoughts, obviously you've spoken about the group a little bit. For you, how does it feel experiencing the Amazon European Masters for the first time?
Well, like after 3 years, missing 2 times or like being in finals and missing it a lot of times, it's really nice to finally go there and meet like other really good teams as well. Of course, we went first to the play-ins, and we like kind of got an upset against Barcelona, what no one expected. So for me, main stage is really nice to achieve already, and I think with how the group is going that we can actually get out of it as well. And it's just really nice to play against other good teams. Yeah.
Well, Fury, that was honestly an amazing game from you guys. I'm so happy with the performance you guys put on. Congratulations on the win, and we will speak to you again soon, all right? See you later.
Thank you. Have a good one.
And for you guys at home, we are going to quickly throw to a break while you absorb some adverts, and we'll be back with... Oh, no break. Highlights. Let's do highlights.
Highlights first, Jake.
I don't hear anything in my ear, apparently. Let's run the highlights.
I'm sorry, guys. Yes, so... God, working with this guy, man, I swear. Highlights. This game, definitely... I feel like for the early stages, could have gone either way. Maybe a little bit too little inactivity from Esker here. I feel like you maybe wanted to push more than just Harpoon's lead in terms of, overall map pressure. Yes, the lead that Harpoon had individually into OD was very impressive, but aside from that, it didn't really feel like you got much done with that very fed Kai'Sa. And then, of course, this is the fight that turned the entire game around. No one could get onto OD. The initial engage only went onto Jewel. Jewel did not get bursted down in the duration of that CC and was able to pull out, yet again, what seems to be a game-changing Olma Renata. I don't know, man. They need to nerf this champion ASAP. Riot, sort it out, man.
He ended that fight full health. That's how strong Odie was there. He just wasn't touched. He just got to free fire. This fight was, again, a little bit closer for Odie, but he was still pretty healthy. He has, all the shielding and stuff to work with. Absolutely amazing game coming in from Odie. And, you talked about it before we actually got into the game. Him and Harpoon, 280 carries who lean heavily on these hyper carries, and 22.9k. Look at the damage coming out from Odie this game.
I'm going to self-quote myself and say, I'm pretty sure I said, this is the kind of game where Odie deals about 40% of his team's damage. I'm not so good at maths that I can immediately blow out the percentage there, but I'm pretty sure I was on the ball. As, like I said, the rest of the team comp, it was more about facilitating Odie in the later stages of the game. Fury only dealt maybe around half of his damage, and yeah, I mean, Odie just popped off, and that was what the draft was designed to do for him.
I mean, to be fair to Fury, he was playing versus an Ahri on the Silas. It's definitely a harder one for him, but we still have more games to go here at the Amazonian Masters. This time it is ready for a break, so we're going to quickly throw to that. Then we're back with Vitality V versus Red Star, so don't go anywhere. See you in a moment.